In part 1 of the Lightfighter saga, we talked to Brian Wisman, one of the co-creators of the Lightfighter electric race bike, and get the background behind how the bike was made, the concept for this geometry-first design, and all the effort that went into it. But now, in part 2 of the Lightfighter saga, we actually get to race it. So come along, and let's have some fun. We are here at Utah Motorsports Campus for the third to last round of the AHRMA road racing series. Our whole goal with it was to race it, assuming it was good enough to go race. And we've done plenty of testing before we ever shot this video with the Lightfighter, and we've made some pretty significant changes to the bike. And it's fast as hell. When you have 200 pound-feet of torque at your command in your right wrist, it's fast as hell. We didn't know what it would be like against gas bikes. That was the big thing. Like, we got it working geometry, suspension, chassis-wise pretty darn good, but we always had that question in our back of our minds, like, well, okay, that's cool and all, but like, when you put it up against gas bikes, how is it gonna do? We said, screw it, let's go enter some gas bike races. And at the previous round of the AHRMA series at Buttonwillow Raceway, we entered into the Formula Thunder class, which is AHRMA's big boy premier race, against, there was a 1299 Ducati Panigale, a Pierobons X80R, which is powered by an 848 engine. Some other fast guys there too. You want to tell them how we did?
Yeah, so it was the race of the weekend for sure. Troy had a great battle with Tom Wilbert on that Pierobons X80R Ducati. The bikes were like very evenly matched, and so Troy pulled it out across the line, and the stands went wild. At least they did in my mind. Come on, Troy! Oh no! Yeah! Woo! Woo! It was a great debut for the bike, and then what happened?
We got disqualified later on because electric bikes weren't allowed in the class.
Dude was entered in Formula Thunder, disqualified because it was an electric bike, but he's getting second place, second fastest lap for a 1:55.121.
There he goes again.
And winning. Let's give it up for this guy, okay? An electric bike.
Here at Utah, we've talked to the right people, filled out the right forms, and arranged for us to not get disqualified for entering a gas bike class going forward. Those same people and motorcycles are here, and some fast guys that weren't at Buttonwillow are also here, so we have stiffer competition this time around. But I'm confident we can bring this thing home at a pretty respectable place. And you know, we thought we were going to go against 600. Now we're going up against big boy V-Twin Ducatis, and we're holding our own. So it goes to show this is the real deal. The Lightfighter is the real deal. Hopefully anybody watching this who's got a lot of money in their pockets and wants to actually like build more of these will chime in and contact Brian and make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, electric is going to be part of the future of this sport, and right. So I'm just happy to be kind of pushing the technology forward and seeing what's possible. So anything we achieve out here is going to be above and beyond what we had even hoped for the project, but right. It's super cool to see us racing head-to-head with gas bikes and some very fast gas bikes.
And those gas bike competitors were really impressed too. Unbeknownst to me, while I was hanging out in the pits with Brian Wisman, our video guy Sean, who just happened to be in Utah also racing a BMW, caught up with Brian Larabure, another one of my competitors, and talked to him about the Lightfighter and how much he was impressed by the electric racing machine.
Brian did a fantastic job putting that bike together. Troy's riding the wheels off of it and showing his skills, and for it to go up against open Formula Thunder bikes, which are full-blown 1198 Ducatis or 1199 Panigales with full electronics, and show them a wheel all the way around the track and stay right on them. That's a credit to Troy and to that piece of machinery that he's got the tool, at his disposal.
before we knew it, Barber was finally here, and due to Mother Nature playing its games, we had to jump straight to the Pro Cup race. So as you can see, Brian and Eli are feverishly at work changing out tires to have some freshies for the big Barber Cup race. That's the big one, the big money race of the day. There's a bit of a scare with rain later today, so we're bumping up the race to after lunch, which is a bit of a problem since we weren't ready for that. It takes some time to recharge the bike, but I think we'll get things ready in time. And like I said, up next is the Barber Cup race. That's going to be the big one. I really don't know how we're going to do. I qualified 7th. There's some big guns. We're not sure if we're ready. Most of it, we can give it our all. And win, lose, or draw, it's going to be a rad time with some of the best riders in the country. So let's go. I can't talk because I'm nervous. So let's go after it, and we'll come back after the whole thing is done and tell you how it went. So those nerves got the best of me as I lined up on the grid next to guys like Jeff May, Taylor Knapp, Steve Rapp, and Mr. Daytona himself, Scott Russell. And at the start, I got a pretty good start, but by turn 1, those fast guys just swallowed me up because I was so nervous. And that whole first lap, I was riding really tight. And then by the end of the first lap, I realized we belonged, and so I loosened up and got to ride the bike like I know I can ride. And things became really fun after that. Walt Sipp and Nate Kern and I got into a nice little scrap for about 7th place. Things were going well, we're having fun, and finally it felt natural being there. And then
a little bit of heartbreak in the last race, the Pro Cup Challenge. The whole schedule got thrown out today. Troy, why don't you tell us what happened?
Well, you know how in racing they say it's always the 5-cent part that lets you down? It was the 5-cent part that let me down today. Blew a fuse on the very last lap.
And just for any of you that think he's a journalist, he gets to ride all these bikes, Troy doesn't care, he's always smiling, he didn't want to go on camera. I had to convince him that this would make good video.
I had just done my fastest lap of the entire weekend. I think I was in, I don't know, 7th or 8th or something. And yeah, 4 turns from the end, everything shut down, went blank, and I coasted to a stop. So because of the change in the schedule, there was the Formula Lightning Extreme race that I did on this bike, and then the change of schedule didn't allow us to fully recharge in time. We got mostly recharged, and there was a sticker on the dash that told me when to call it quits if the battery level came to a certain spot. It never reached that point, so I figured we're good. And then when the bike shut down, I thought, oh crap, was I not paying attention to it? Turns out it was a fuse.
How did this thing compare to a tricked out, one of the best R9Ts in the world with a very good rider on it? How did that go battling with Nate?
I've looked up to Nate for a very long time, and to be dicing with him was pretty rad. It looked like he was having some kind of bike trouble. I don't know. He didn't look very confident on the brakes. The electric bike, the Lightfighter, had more motor, had more brakes than him, so I mean he was hustling that thing. It was pretty cool to watch, and when I realized, hey, I think I'm faster than him. Let's see if I am. Went by him and I could hear him on my tail, and over time I didn't hear him anymore. Even with a blown fuse, I think we didn't finish last, so that's good. And when we were going, we were 8th, 7th, something like that. So out of, I think it was 15. So from people tell me that the crowds were like amazed whenever this thing came by.
And I watched you race earlier in the day, with the electric bike class, Formula Lightning Extreme, but you were in the second wave. There must have been 60 bikes in the track altogether.
It was a lot.
And you were almost dead last in the start, and you were the first one of the first turn of the second wave. And then you were like a hot knife through butter. So what was that like compared to the pro race?
It was just, it wasn't even fair. Like, I felt guilty. It wasn't even fair. So it was fun watching other people having their own little battles amongst themselves, and then, okay, cool.
This seems like a good point to let's take off our racer hats, our heartbroken blown fuse hats, put on our moto journalist hats.
Oh, I gotta get in that zone now?
Because I'm sure people want to know. So, what is it like racing this? What do you think the future of electric will be? How does this compare to, you're also racing these beautiful Kramers this weekend as well. So, talk a little about the whole racing an electric bike experience.
At the end of the day, it's 2 wheels and a throttle and brakes. But it's...
Yeah, but I almost feel like you're understating, because there tends to be in the racing community like, oh, yeah, an electric bikes will start in the back, they can't finish the, they're kind of looked at as second tier, but this thing's anything but.
I think we're proving that this can hang with the best of the best out here. It's hard to explain unless you see it for yourself, because you can talk about it all day long, but it's like people, diehard 2-stroke fans think 4-strokes are garbage. Well, here's the next step above that. Electrics done right, there's no comparison. There's no gears to shift, so you're never going to miss a shift. 200 pound-feet of torque at the rear wheel. There's a video that these guys took of my start where once that green flag dropped, it was full stick, and there was the stickers on my tire. Every 4 feet you could see a mark of the sticker on the pavement, on the ground, because this thing is just dumping power to that tire so hard.
Yeah, I watched you from the rooftop of the main building, and you were just gone off the line.
Yeah, this thing rockets off the line. There's no heat, there's no vibration.
So do you miss any of that stuff?
No.
Some purists are like, where's the riding come in, or does it free up your brain for other things? Sound, can you hear the sound of the tires on the tarmac? Are you getting new information that vibration and noise was covering up before?
I'm glad you asked that question, Sean. The cool thing that I never took into consideration with this, I can hear what my competitors are doing. I can hear when they get on the gas, I can hear when they get off the gas. And I can make that mental note in my brain like, oh, you're getting on too early, or you're getting on too late, or I should be getting on the gas when you are, or I should, you're not getting on the gas early enough, or you're getting off the gas too soon. Okay. But
next lap, I might be able to pass you on the brakes over there because I'm still on the gas.
Bingo. So that's a whole new level of racecraft that never even occurred to me until riding this, and it's pretty rad. It handles like a big bike. By big bike, I mean like a 1,000cc type of bike.
But this is the weight of a very tuned up or very lightened 600, yes?
Yeah, 375 pounds.
But it's not as nimble as a 600?
Because with the gas bike, you have the crankshaft inertia to help rotate you from side to side. You don't have that here. So you have just the mass of the spinning wheels to contend with. Really, and we were contending with that in practice earlier this week. The fix was shortening the wheelbase. We put a different sprocket on the back with the same chain, and so we shrunk that wheelbase down. And my first lap, it was a night and day difference. Boom, boom. It's not as light and flickable as a 275-pound gas Kramer, but yeah, it's cool. The thing with this bike, it is a prototype. You can see the frame bracing. When it's fully leaned over, the chassis flex just isn't there. So when the suspension's not doing its thing, fully leaned over, you're relying on the chassis to suck up some of those bumps, and it's not. So overall, it's such a cool bike to ride. The sensation of speed is still there, it's just different. And once you wrap your head around like when I ride this bike alone with no other bikes, it feels kind of slow. And then I'm out there with other bikes and I realize, holy crap, this is fast. You don't really get that sense when you're on a R1 or whatever big bike, gas bike, because you have the oral sensation from the engine exhaust, the gear shifts, the vibration. With this, it's deceptively fast. And once you wrap your head around that, it's pretty damn cool. So after the disappointment of the Pro Cup race, Brian and I had a debrief over everything, and then now here he is talking about what happened and how the Lightfighter performed throughout the race. What's the technical term for this?
That is a blown fuse.
Ah, even I can understand that.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Yep. Not the way we wanted to end that race, that's for sure.
So by now you've had a chance to look at some of the data.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you saw?
You were moving pretty quick, so this is not unusual that you pick up pace during the race day. So as a data engineer, you got to try to anticipate where the rider is going to be on race day. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. I think today we got it pretty close. We were on the limit for battery capacity, and with the last minute move up of the race, we were struggling to get the bike charged up in time because we thought we had a lot of time left. So we left out, not way down, but a couple volts down on being fully topped off where we would have liked to be, especially for a race like this. And then the other thing that ultimately bit us was the fuse for the 12-volt system. So, I mean, the bike's got a 12-volt system running the dash, but also the control electronics on the motor controller. And so when the 12-volt system goes down, you don't have any control system to run the bike, and the bike cuts out. So
it was pretty dramatic and sudden.
Yeah.
Went from everything it's got to I'm done.
Yeah, so definitely not the kind of thing you want to expose the rider to or end up with on track. But it's a prototype bike. We're still learning what the limits are. We've extracted more performance and more power out of the bike than we have at any prior race, and so unfortunately, you get to be the test pilot, and sometimes it doesn't go well. All that said, I'm really happy with the lap times. You turned your fastest lap on the last lap that you were out there, lap 8 or lap 7 of 8, a 1:33.3, so that was 0.3 faster than our qualifying time, and a pretty impressive time for the power level on the bike that we have.
And then the top guys, they were only in the high 20s, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's not like I was this massive leap behind them.
No.
I mean, I was, but that's
No, it was a great battle to watch between you, Walt Sipp, and Nate Kern. So it looked like we finally kind of broke Nate's resolve to try to get past you, but in the end, it wasn't meant to be, and this is why we race. You gotta put it out there on the racetrack and see what happens, and at least we know what went wrong, and so we can go about fixing it. So it's terrible to have any kind of issue, but at least it's one we can resolve, and we've still got a couple more races to run this weekend.
Yeah.
So let's put this behind us and focus on those now.
We'll get them tomorrow.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds good.
So not wanting to end things on a low note, we put a higher rated fuse into the Lightfighter and went back at it again on Sunday in the Formula Thunder race, where I almost got the whole shot. Instead, this pesky Triumph 675 and a EBR, ridden by a really awesome dude with a prosthetic right leg, kind of got by me by turn 2, but the Lightfighter proved its superiority by turn 4, and we cruised to a relatively easy victory, which just caps off a wonderful debut season for the Lightfighter. It was such a pleasure to ride this thing, to develop it from our very beginnings at Buttonwillow to what we had at Barber. It turned heads everywhere we went. It was fast, it was amazing, and it's not the end. 2020 is going to be even better with version 2 of the bike. We're going to hit the circuits harder and faster. So stay tuned in 2020, because we're not done with the Lightfighter just yet. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.